Hey AO campers, it's Maddie, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make oatmeal raisin cookies. I don't know about you, but since we made ants on a log, I have a ton of leftover raisins that I need to get rid of. So I thought, what better way than to make cookies? So what you'll need for this recipe is milk. Any kind of milk you like works. Salt. Baking powder. Baking soda. Flour. You can use any kind of flour. If it's gluten-free, that's okay too. Brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, oats, and raisins. I'm using Craisins, but you could use regular raisins. You could even use chocolate chips, but that's what I'm going to use. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is set your butter out to soften, because we want it to be soft when we're using it in our recipe. So put your butter out, let it soften, and go preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So now that our butter is softened, we're going to take 3/4 cups of butter and put it into our mixing bowl. So I'll get my 1/4 cup here, and it'll say just on the side of your cup how much it is. And I'm gonna get 3/4 cups of butter. You can use any kind of butter you like. I'm gonna use vegan margarine because that's my favorite. 1/4 cup. 2/4 cups. And 3/4 cups. I think this is going to use up the rest of the margarine I have. Okay, so I've added 3/4 cups of softened margarine into my bowl. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, you can use white sugar. Your cookies just won't be quite as chewy that way. I like my cookies to be really chewy, so I'm gonna use brown sugar. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my 1 cup measurement, scoop it into my sugar bag, and get 1 cup and 2 cups. There. Don't forget to close back up your ingredients when you're done, because you don't want to make a mess. So next we're going to cream the sugar and the butter together. If you have an electric mixer, that's perfect. I don't, so I'm going to do it by hand. So I'm going to use a fork and I'm going to mash it together, then I'm going to kind of whip it in sort of a whisking motion for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's all incorporated together and looks light and fluffy-ish. So myself and Jeff have finished creaming together the butter and sugar. It should look something like this, light and fluffy, so that there's lots of air bubbles inside of it. That'll give your cookie a little more structure, hopefully, as long as this works. So next we're gonna add in our plant milk. It's going to be 1/3 cup. So I'm gonna find my 1/3 cup measurement right here, and I'm gonna pour in my oat milk. Not oat milk, my almond milk. But you could use oat milk if you wanted to. Perfect, and then I'm gonna mix that up for about 30 more seconds, just until it's all combined together and looking not clumpy, nice and smooth. Okay, so I finished mixing up my milk with my butter and my sugar, and it looks like this, all nice and smooth. I've scraped all the excess off of the edges so that it's all combined and mixed together well. So now we're going to start adding some of our dry ingredients. So we're going to start off with our flour, and we're going to need 2 cups of flour. So I'll get my cup measurement. And I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. So here's 1, and 2. Next, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'll get out my measuring spoons here, and I'll find 1 teaspoon, which is right here. I'm just going to take it off the ring so I can use it more easily. Okay, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I scooped that out, and I'm gonna just pop it in my bowl. Next, I'm gonna need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'll scoop that in here and pop it right in my bowl. Next, we're gonna need 1 teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna pour that into our bowl. So 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm just popping that in the bowl. Last, we're gonna need 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. So I'm gonna just grab my 1/2 teaspoon measurement, and I'm gonna use 3 of these. So that in total, we'll have 1.5. So 1, 2, and 3. I love cinnamon, so I'm sure I'm gonna love these cookies too. Now we're gonna mix together all of these ingredients well in our bowl until it's all combined. This might take a few minutes, but that's okay. Better to mix it all together and have it tasting super yummy rather than be not mixed. Now my batter looks like this. It looks like cookie batter, so we're heading in the right direction. Next, we're gonna add our oats. So we're gonna use 3 cups of oats, and we're gonna add them 1 cup at a time. So I have my cup measurement, and I'm gonna go ahead and scoop out 1 cup of oats. And if you're making your cookies gluten-free, make sure you get the gluten-free oats as well as the gluten-free flour. Mine is not gluten-free, so I'm just using regular oats. So I just poured in my 1 cup of oats, and I'm gonna mix that up before I add my next cup. So I finished stirring in my 1st cup of oats. Now I can add my 2nd cup of oats. So I'll just reach into the bag, pull out a nice cup of oats, pour that in, and mix it up so it's all well combined. Now I've stirred in my 2nd cup of oats. I can add my last cup of oats. So I'll pull that out of the bag, and I'll stir that in. So now all of my oats are mixed in. My batter was looking a little bit dry, so I added just an extra splash of milk, so you can do that too if your batter's looking a little dry. Last thing we're gonna add is the raisins, of course. So I've got mine here, and we're just gonna add 1/2 cup and mix that in well. So I'll get my 1/2 cup measurement. And I'm gonna scoop up 1/2 cup of raisins. And I'm gonna do a big 1/2 cup because I'm trying to use these guys up. Now I'm just gonna mix that in well. Okay, now that my batter's ready, I'm gonna get a large cookie sheet, and I'm going to line it with parchment paper so my cookies don't stick. Once I've done that, I'm going to get a spoon, and I'm going to scoop out some of the dough and put it on the cookie sheet to form each of our cookies. So I'm going to scoop out some dough, and I might form it just a little bit with my hands. Just make sure it sticks together. And lay out my cookies. Try your best to make all your cookies around the same size if you can. That way they'll all bake evenly. And leave a little bit of space between each of your cookies because they're going to spread out a little bit and you don't want them to all run into each other. Then you'll just have one big cookie. Okay, so I've gone ahead and scooped out my cookie dough onto a baking sheet. I still have a lot left over, so I'm gonna have to make 2 batches, but that's okay. So I'm gonna put this first batch in the oven for 11 minutes, and then I'm gonna check on it and see how it's going. So I ended up baking my cookies for about 22 minutes. I think just because I made mine so big, they needed a little while longer. But I'm gonna let them sit for 5 minutes just so that they can firm up. Then I'll move them to a tray to start cooling and put my next batch in the oven. So I just let the cookies cool down and tried them, and they are delicious. So I hope you guys try this recipe and I hope you like it. And if you do, let me know. I'd love to know how it turns out. Have a great week, everybody. Bye!